From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
A subdivision near Lewistown close to a fast-moving new wildfire. Coming up, learn about road closures related to the blaze and how people are acting to protect their property. Also ahead, sports betting in Montana launched just before the pandemic struck last year. Coming up, learn how that affected betting and what's changing for this coming season. Happy Tuesday, Southwest Montana. There's a nice shot from the Montana State University campus. Looks like the flag is blowing a little bit.
A little bit of a breeze, very mild conditions though this morning. We're really concerned about the combination of wind and dry conditions. So we do have some critical fire danger to talk about for the area. Temperatures very mild this morning, mostly holding right around that 40-degree mark from Butte back toward Belgrade, 48 in Ennis. Dillon sitting at 50 degrees. There's that flag waving around this morning proudly. Yeah, temperatures for the afternoon back into the mid to upper 70s. We'll be near 80 degrees for the Bozeman area. Beautiful morning this morning in Butte. Temperatures back into the mid 70s. Very pleasant conditions, but changing pattern certainly is moving in. We'll talk more about that, plus fire danger in just a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to start with fire danger actually. 6:31, Matt. There's a stark reminder this morning. Montana's wildfire season far from over. This photo from late yesterday afternoon of a cloud of smoke billowing above Lewistown, threatening a subdivision. The South Moccasin fire started at around 5 acres, has ballooned to now more than 1,200 acres. Right now, air and ground crews are fighting that blaze. Montana Highway 81, the Denton Highway, is closed from just before mile marker 25 to mile marker 42. That's to allow fire crews to get through to the fire. So far, no evacuations have been ordered, but residents are being asked to stay clear of the area. 10's Asher Line traveled to the fire and has the latest.
I'm Asher Line and I'm here in Fergus County, just a few miles outside of Lewistown, where the South Moccasin fire is burning actively behind me, a couple miles northwest of Lewistown. Several people have told me that they expect it to shift directions here in the next little bit. They expect it to move closer to homes. It's currently blowing toward the east. You can see the smoke a couple miles high in the sky. I was able to see the smoke all the way from Great Falls making my way out here. There are several pastures and several herds of cattle behind me as well. I've been told that the size of the fire is estimated to be around 1,200 acres and the cause of it is still unknown. The property owners we spoke to said everyone has been evacuated safely from their homes and that they are safe. They also said low humidity could be a factor in what started the fire, but there has been no official word onto what started the blaze. There were airplanes and helicopters in the area as well, bringing water and fire retardant to the flames.
You know, we have been putting sprinklers on some of the structures, got our cows are all down here, and then cut a bunch of fence so the neighbors' cows can get out of the mountains, and then making sure they get some of the working vehicles down here. Fire
districts all over central Montana have responded, and there are also several aircraft making rounds over the mountains. We will update you when we get more information. In Fergus County, Asher Line, MTN News.
In other headlines this morning, a state district judge in Missoula has rejected a request from anti-mask parents to block local school districts' face mask mandate for students, staff, and visitors. District Judge Jason Marks denying a request from the group Stand Up Montana and 11 parents to issue an order blocking the school district face mask mandate for students. Stand Up Montana and the parents had asked to block the mandate while the court decides whether the mandate is a violation of constitutional rights. Judge Mark says he won't deny schools the ability to use recognized public health measure to protect kids during an outbreak of a highly communicable disease. He also says while children who won't wear masks may have to learn remotely, that's of lesser harm than the spread of COVID-19. Stand Up Montana has filed a similar lawsuit against the Bozeman and Big Sky school districts. Stand Up Montana describes itself as a group that seeks to protect people facing discrimination or harassment by unfair rules and regulations. Well, Sportsbet Montana is seeing increasing numbers now that football season is underway. MTN's John Riley takes a closer look at how the wagering has been going in the state now that professional and college sports are back in earnest.
Sportsbet Montana is doing well, according to the Montana Lottery, although they had an unusual launch to say the least. Billed as a significant moneymaker for the state when proposed to legislators, the program launched March 11, 2020, with kiosks restricted to bars, restaurants, and casinos. And then this happened.
The conference announced on Thursday morning that the remainder of the men's and women's basketball tournaments would be canceled, as other major college tournaments and pro sports around the United States were taking similar measures as this outbreak continues.
Governor Bullock today ordered statewide closures of dine-in food services and alcoholic beverage businesses to better help with the spread of COVID-19.
Restaurants, bars, and casinos reopened in the following months, with most professional sports returning by September. So, how has Sportsbet Montana performed outside the pandemic closures? From September 1st, 2020 through August 31st, 2021, 926,000 bets were wagered, totaling a little under $44.5 million. The total payout to bettors was $38.8 million, with around $5.6 million going to gross gaming revenue. Impressive numbers considering the Montana Lottery has done very little in terms of advertising or awareness because of the pandemic, yet people are still finding the kiosks.
You know, to launch into an unexpected headwind like COVID and still have the kinds of sales that we're having, I mean, sports betting is consistently our number 2 product in terms of sales, which to catch up to 30-year run of a successful lottery in a year's time is pretty darn good.
Currently, the state is holding events at venues that offer the game to help educate the public about what it is and how to make bets. There are 434 Sportsbet Montana retail locations across the state, ranging from big cities like Billings to small ones like Baynesville. As for what sports people in Montana are wagering on, basketball was number 1, followed by baseball and football. The average bet was around $48, with 80% of bets happening pre-game. Due to new legislation, Montana also saw changes to sports pools and sports tabs games this year, which are regulated by the Department of Justice, not lottery. Previously, those games were capped at how much a person could wager, with a total of a $2,500 payout. But as of October 1st, there is no limit on what can be wagered, nor how much can be paid out in those games. And unlike Sportsbet Montana, the state doesn't see a cut. Reporting in Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
6:36 now. In other news, the pandemic upended the housing market, with prices soaring, making buying a home a challenge for some. But in some cities, housing prices may be overheated, while in others, it may be a good time to buy. Maya Rodriguez spoke to researchers behind a nationwide study to see what advice they have for you.
Doesn't matter if you're living in the Midwest,
there is still quite a big demand for homes.
the South,
The price of housing is really through the roof.
or anywhere else in the country.
There was really no rhyme or reason as to east versus west, north versus south.
The housing market is hot, a side effect of the pandemic.
Pretty much everywhere has a shortage in inventory right now.
But just how much of a shortage depends on where you live, and how much a property is valued depends on that too. But in some places, there's good values still to be found, and in others, experts say housing is now overvalued.
We thought this would be good information.
Ken H. Johnson is Dean of the College of Business at Florida Atlantic University. He and a team of researchers recently looked back at 26 years of housing data. They compared the historic rise in home prices to where they would be expected to be today to see which markets are overvalued. Here's what they found. Of the 100 housing markets they looked at, Boise, Idaho topped the list of overvalued. Home prices a whopping 80% higher than where they should be based on the history of prices there. Boise is joined by several cities in Utah, as well as Austin, Texas, Detroit, Phoenix, and Las Vegas, among others.
They can't grow fast enough, so the supply of housing is at a shortage.
What does that mean? For sellers, it's a great time. For buyers, though,
If I was moving to those markets, I would worry about buying at the peak of the cycle. I would probably be prone, even though rent prices might be high, I would be prone to want to rent.
but there were some deals to be found in certain cities. One surprise to researchers, Honolulu, Hawaii.
Which we were shocked that Honolulu is at the very bottom. There's almost a 4% discount to the historical pricing in Honolulu, Hawaii. If you're moving to Hawaii, now is a really good time to buy.
Honolulu ranked at the bottom of the list of 100 markets, followed by Virginia Beach and Baltimore, along with New York City and New Orleans, all places considered a good buy right now. So, is there a chance for a housing bust similar to what happened during the Great Recession 15 years ago?
We are in a fundamentally different set of economic circumstances today than we were 15 years ago. Are some markets prone to perhaps go down in price or face a downturn? Yes, but it doesn't seem to be as dramatic as what we saw a decade and a half ago. Many markets are pretty well braced for this.
But Johnson says there's more to buying a house than just money. There are emotional factors at play too.
You've bought a house that fits what you want, is tailored to you. So it's much more than just a strict financial investment.
But one still worth examining closely. I'm Maya Rodriguez.
I'm going to guess that Southwest Montana is closer to Boise than it is to Honolulu as far as prices over the past. 6:40, let's take a break. When we come back, Amazon already offering holiday deals and Target following suit. What's on the list for early shoppers coming up? But first, here's Gail King with a look at what's coming up at 7 o'clock.
Good morning to you. Ahead on CBS Mornings, Facebook under fire one day after the social network was hit by a major service outage. It now faces congressional scrutiny over potentially harmful effects on children. What to expect from today's whistleblower testimony. And the Pandora Papers reveal hidden assets of the very wealthy. We'll talk about how offshore banking havens are now being used in this country and why regular people should care about this. And Imagine Dragons, you know these guys. Their new album is full of emotionally charged songs. Hear about the real-life experiences behind the band's music. We'll see you 7 o'clock, top of the hour.